everyone, welcome back to another day on my plate for vegan November. And so for breakfast yesterday I made a vanilla chia pudding with raspberries and pistachios. I made this up the night before by adding 1/4 cup of chia seeds to a bowl with 1 cup of almond milk. I also added in 1 teaspoon of maple syrup and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I gave that a good mix together and then I left it to set in the fridge overnight. I removed it in the morning and topped it with some frozen raspberries, you could use fresh, a small handful of pistachio nuts, and I also grated on some Mooloo vegan chocolate too. I've made these before and I'll say it again, chia bowls or chia puddings make for such a quick and easy breakfast. You can add all sorts in to change up the flavours each time and whatever you like on top. You can even make this in a container instead of a bowl, so it's ready to take with you as an on-the-go breakfast in the morning. It's such a great energy boosting start to the day and it's almost like eating a dessert for breakfast. I'm okay with that, they're so delicious. For a mid-morning snack I made some garlic and paprika roasted chickpeas. For this I just preheated my oven to 200 degrees Celsius and then I mixed 1/2 cup of chickpeas in a bowl with 1 teaspoon of olive oil, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder and a pinch of ground black pepper. I made sure all the chickpeas were well coated and then I tipped that out onto a lined baking tray, spread them out evenly, and then I placed those in the oven to roast for around 30 minutes until they go crunchy. But halfway through I just give them a bit of a mix so that they all cook evenly. Once they were done I just removed them from the oven and set them to the side to cool a little bit. I then put some in a dish and any remaining chickpeas can be kept in an airtight container or a glass jar for up to 3 days. Any longer than that and I just find that they go a little bit soft, and I just love making roasted chickpeas as much as flavoured roasted or toasted nuts, but these are a much more protein dense snack and you can do them in so many different ways. You could also try doing these Cajun style, like the Cajun toasted cashew nuts I did the other day with some Cajun spice mix. You could do salt and pepper chickpeas, chili chickpeas. They're such a great snack and another one that's perfect to put in a container for on the go or to take to school or work. For lunch I made some garlicky herby mushroom pasta. I first cooked up 1 cup of whole wheat penne in a pan of boiling salt water, and once it was cooked I just rinsed and drained it. In the same pan I then minced in 3 cloves of garlic into a teaspoon of olive oil and fried those off before adding in 1 portion of my creamy mushroom soup that I defrosted. I let that cook until it was gently simmering and then I added the pasta back in and gave it a really good stir. I then took a bunch of fresh parsley and finely chopped that up, and then I added a handful into the pasta and mixed it in well, and then I served that up with some cracked black pepper on top. This soup honestly makes the most amazing pasta sauce. It's so creamy and because it had been in the freezer all of the flavours are so much more enhanced, yet the garlic and parsley gives it even more flavour. You could also use thyme or basil in this, and I often make this dish but with whole wheat spaghetti too. I always get asked how I grew to love mushrooms because I really used to hate them, and if I have any tips for this, and this is one recipe that I would suggest trying if you're trying to cook with more mushrooms because it's so delicious. That's easy to say as I like mushrooms now. I used to dislike them because I thought they were slimy, but as I mentioned the main flavours are the garlic and parsley. The mushrooms just give the sauce a creaminess and so you don't really notice that texture with this. For an afternoon snack I just had some peanut butter and banana on quinoa toast. For this I first just sliced up 1 banana, although I only ended up using half. I took 2 quinoa crisp breads and some smooth peanut butter. I spread some peanut butter on and then I topped them with the banana slices. This makes for such a quick and easy snack, but again great for an energy boost. You could use any sort of nut butter for this, hazelnut or almond nut butters, and you could even top them with apple slices or pear slices and granola or even the puff brown rice cereal I made the other day. And of course, again, I have to share some of my leftover banana with the bunny. It's his absolute favourite, but don't worry, he doesn't have it all too often and he only has a little amount. It's very much a treat for him. I love the way he eats bananas, it's so funny to watch. For dinner, I made a vegetable pie in a cheese and parsley sauce. I first turned my oven on to 180 degrees Celsius, and then I chopped up 1 red onion, 2 peeled carrots, 2 leeks and half a butternut squash. I first added the onions to a pan with 1 teaspoon of olive oil and I cooked those down until soft. I then added in the carrots and leeks, fried those off for a few minutes, and then I added in the butternut squash. I then gave everything a really good mix and then set that to the side on a medium heat whilst I made up the cheese sauce. For this, I first made a roux by heating about 1/4 cup of almond milk in a pan. Then I added in 4 tablespoons of chickpea flour and I kept stirring it until it formed a paste. I next added in 5 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, stirred it again, and then I added in 2 cups of almond milk. Turned up the heat here so that the sauce thickens, and you need to whisk it here as well to get rid of any lumps. I don't have a whisk, hence using my spaghetti spoon. And then I just grated in some nutmeg and seasoned it with black pepper. I then added in a handful of fresh chopped parsley and stirred it well. Next I added the cheese and parsley sauce to the cooked veg, mixed everything together well, and then I poured that into a glass baking dish. I placed that in the oven to keep warm whilst I then made the topping. And for this I just peeled 4 medium-sized potatoes and then I cut them into quarters. I placed those in a pan of boiling water until they became soft, and I drained them but reserved a little bit of water in the pan. Seasoned them with salt and black pepper, and then I just mashed it up with a tablespoon of olive oil until it was smooth. I then removed the pie from the oven, topped it with all of the mashed potato, and then I placed that back in the oven to bake again for another 30 minutes. 10 minutes before it was ready, I added 1 cup of frozen peas to a pan of boiling water to cook, and then I drained them off. I then removed the pie from the oven and then I served that up between 2 dishes with the peas on the side. I do find pies like this take quite a bit of cooking and time to put together, but they're so worth it. They're the most comforting foods, and a cheesy veg pie is my all-time favourite, either like this with a side of veg or as a kind of roast dinner option. One thing that I will say though is that the milk needs to be unsweetened. Either unsweetened almond milk or soya milk would work for this, but any kind of sweetened milk will completely change the taste. And just adjust it how you like. I almost taste it as I go along and add in more seasoning and nutmeg if I feel it needs it. And again, you can completely change up the veg. You don't have to use the vegetables that I used. Broccoli, cauliflower, beans, mushrooms, they would all work so well in this too. For dessert, I made a spiced apple crumble. I'd left the oven on after dinner because I knew I wanted to make a crumble, so it was still heated to 180 degrees Celsius. I then peeled 2 apples, cut them into small chunks, and then added those to a pan with 1/4 cup of water. I cooked those down for a few minutes before then adding in 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and I grated in some nutmeg. I let that simmer for around 10 minutes on a medium heat until it had completely cooked down. And in the meantime, I made the topping by mixing 1/2 cup of oats and 1/2 cup of oat flour in a bowl with 1/3 cup of flaked almonds, 2 tablespoons of melted coconut oil, 2 tablespoons of coconut sugar and 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. I mixed that together really well, and then I transferred the apple mix into a small baking dish, and then I topped it with the crumble mix. I placed that in the oven to bake for 20 minutes and then I removed it, served it up between 2 bowls, and then I served that with some banana ice cream. For this I just blended together 1 frozen chopped banana and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract in my food processor until it was smooth, and I served that on top of the crumble. And again, this is the most amazing, comforting winter dessert. You could also make this with pears instead of apples, and I also love to add other berries into it. Raspberries and blackberries work really well too. The crumble topping for this is so good, really sweet, and the flaked almonds make it extra crunchy. And there you have another day on my plate for day 8 of Vegan November. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, all the recipes will be in the description box below for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!